It looks like Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office just attempted the worst cover-up in WNBA history, lying in plain sight about Caitlin Clark's injury and praying nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, fans noticed. And not just noticed, they've got receipts, timelines, and footage that blow holes in the official story. What was pitched as a clean, simple workout mishap now looks more like a full-blown deception. And when you start misleading fans who buy tickets, watch broadcasts, and spend money on merch, you're not just telling a bad story. You're potentially walking straight into an investigation for deceptive consumer practices. This isn't a small PR slip, it's a credibility meltdown. White went on live TV, smiled for the cameras, and rolled out a neat little script about Clark's timeline. The problem? The dates don't add up, and when your dates don't add up, fans will tear you apart. It's 2025, receipts live forever, and people aren't going to just nod along anymore. Let's rewind. Caitlin Clark injured her groin back in mid-July after taking a reckless knee from J.C. Sheldon. The injury was described as day-to-day, with talk of ramping up practices before a hopeful return in late August. Sounds normal enough. But as we got closer to that return date, suddenly, magically, another injury pops up. The official line? Clark supposedly got hurt during a workout on August 7th. Nice, tidy, and PR-friendly. Except one problem. Fans have footage from that exact day showing Clark strolling through Phoenix looking smooth, unbothered, and absolutely not injured. Something smells fishy here. Well, what changed? Right, I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs didn't seem to point in the direction of Clark returning to. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, Cece." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed. Instead of admitting the timeline didn't make sense, White and her PR crew doubled down, and that's where the clown show went from embarrassing to insulting. Fever reporters, who should be reporting facts, went on air laughing as they retold Caitlin's unlucky injury story. Not nervous laughter, but actual chuckles, as if the league's most important player being sidelined was a punchline. Think about that. The face of women's basketball gets injured, ratings tank without her, and the media covering it treats it like a comedy sketch. Fans weren't just confused, they were furious. The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. And they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, and look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them, because you won't be open and you won't be honest. This is why Fever credibility is in absolute freefall. Spinning narratives is one thing. Teams do it all the time. But flat out lying to your own fan base and grinning while doing it, that's not just dishonest, it's disrespectful. It's the franchise basically saying, we think you're dumb enough to buy this. Newsflash. Fans aren't dumb, and social media receipts don't expire. People are piecing it together in real time, and the more they look, the uglier it gets. And here's the kicker. They're trying to bury the real incident. Fans haven't forgotten that infamous game where assistant coach Breon January literally stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot. That moment didn't vanish. It just got buried under this workout injury fairy tale. Which is it? Did Caitlin suffer a freak accident in a private gym, or was she actually injured by the very staff that's supposed to protect her? Because if it's the latter, this isn't bad luck. This is negligence. And negligence tied to misleading public statements. That's exactly the kind of mess that invites an investigation, not just by the league, but by sponsors and watchdogs who don't tolerate consumer deception. Meanwhile, Clark herself is caught in the middle, forced into the Fever's PR spin cycle. Every time she speaks on her recovery, It's the same robotic lines. Working hard, feeling good, just unlucky. Fans know Clark. That's not her voice, that's a script. A script that sounds like it was drafted by a Fever intern trying to stop ticket refunds. The timing is too neat, the messaging too controlled, and the authenticity completely missing. And here's the insult that fans can't ignore. Clark isn't a rookie anymore. She's in year 2, the most valuable player to the league's survival, and she's already earned every ounce of that spotlight by selling out arenas coast to coast. Yet the Fever are treating her like a pawn they can shuffle around with lies. If this happened in the NBA, say a coach hurt LeBron James or Steph Curry, and then lied about it, there would be investigations, firings, and non-stop ESPN coverage. But in the WNBA, silence. Just reporters smirking along like unpaid interns for the team. The Fever's credibility isn't just dented, it's shredded. And Stephanie White is at the center of it all. This isn't just bad optics, it may actually cross the line into fraud. Selling tickets and hyping broadcasts around Clark while knowingly misleading fans about her condition is deceptive consumer practice. That's the type of thing that gets lawyers involved, that makes sponsors panic, and that could lead to investigations the Fever absolutely do not want. And here's the spiciest theory making the rounds. Maybe this wasn't incompetence at all. Maybe it was intentional. Think about it. Clark came into the league like a tidal wave, shattering records and pulling in fans who had never watched the WNBA. Almost immediately the narrative shifted. She's too skinny, she needs to bulk up, she's not ready. So what happens? She's pushed into rapid muscle gain, her body breaks down, and suddenly her second year is clouded by injuries. That's not coincidence, that's mismanagement. And when you connect the dots, all arrows point back to White and her staff. Fans are already saying Clark should leave the Fever's medical staff behind and go back to Iowa doctors she can actually trust. And who can blame them? If the front office is lying about when she got hurt, what else are they lying about? Are they downplaying the severity? Are they planning to rush her back early to cash in on ticket sales? These aren't wild conspiracy theories. They're logical questions when the franchise refuses to give straight answers. The silence is deafening, and it screams, cover up. Stephanie White really thought she could step up to the podium, smile for the cameras, and spin this workout injury story like fans were clueless. But the more she repeats it, the more cracks show. And every time she doubles down, she torches her own credibility and drags the Fever deeper into scandal. Instead of protecting Caitlin Clark, White has turned her into the centerpiece of a potential investigation. And Fever fans, they're done. They've watched Clark take hard fouls, eat elbows, get ignored by refs, and now they're watching her be mishandled by her own organization. Imagine being the most hyped women's basketball player in decades, selling out every arena, breaking TV records, and your reward is being lied about when you're hurt. That's not mismanagement, that's malpractice. And if the Fever keep this up, they won't just regret it, they'll get investigated for it. Here's why this scandal stretches far beyond Indiana. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player, she is the WNBA right now. She's the engine powering everything. Ticket sales, ratings, sponsorships, even mainstream media coverage. Her presence sells out arenas coast to coast. Her highlights drive national broadcasts, and her name keeps corporations writing checks. Remove Caitlin from the equation, and the ripple effects are immediate. Attendance dips, ratings collapse, and sponsors start looking for the exit. That's why Stephanie White's little cover-up isn't just bad PR, it edges dangerously close to consumer fraud. Think about it. If fans are buying tickets under the impression Clark might play, when the Fever already knows she won't, that's false advertising. That's not speculation. That's exactly the kind of deceptive practice that sparks legal investigations. And let's be honest, the timing couldn't look shadier. Just as Clark was heating up, dragging the Fever out of irrelevance and igniting league-wide buzz, suddenly she's sidelined under a vague, unbelievable timeline. The Fever's momentum stalls, the team spirals, and the hype vanishes. Whether intentional or not, that's sabotage. And instead of keeping quiet, White went on camera and spun a fake story, making the backlash 10 times worse. But this isn't just about one bad lie, it's part of a pattern. Since Clark entered the league, she's been disrespected at every turn. Officials swallowing whistles while she gets hacked, commentators nitpicking her like no other star, jealous opponents targeting her with cheap shots, and now her own coach adds deception to the pile. To fans it looks coordinated, almost like the league is terrified of her stardom and wants to dim her light. But here's the irony. Every cheap shot, every whistle swallowed, every lie only makes her fan base louder, more loyal, and more determined to protect her. Still, let's not sugarcoat the risk. Caitlin Clark is human, not a machine. Every mishandled injury, every rushed return, every shady media spin cuts into her career longevity. That's the nightmare scenario here. The WNBA's biggest star being broken down before she even hits her prime because her team couldn't be honest or careful. And if that happens, the backlash won't just be harsh, it'll be historic. Stephanie White won't just face fan anger. She'll wear the blame for damaging the very player carrying the league. And White has already guaranteed regret. By lying, she didn't cover up an injury, she lit a fuse. Now fans are dissecting her every word, piling receipts, and exposing contradictions. Reporters outside Indiana are circling, and once national outlets dig in, this story will explode. And when that happens, the Fever won't just be dealing with angry fans, they'll be dealing with sponsors backing out, media scrutiny they can't control, and potentially even regulators poking around. Because let's be blunt, this isn't just sloppy optics, it could be illegal. If you sell a product, tickets, broadcasts, merchandise, off the back of a superstar while knowingly misrepresenting her availability, that's consumer fraud 101. Watchdog groups and regulators don't play around with that. Once the words fraud or false advertising hit headlines, the Fever could be staring down fines, lawsuits, and sponsors demanding answers. And the tragic irony here? Caitlin Clark knows. She's too sharp not to. She knows the dates don't add up. She knows the talking points sound scripted, but she's trapped, forced to smile and nod, because calling out her own coach mid-season would get her branded difficult. She's being silenced in her own story, and that's the most heartbreaking part. Alright? People have been trying to stay invested because the GOAT was supposed to be coming back. I mean, seriously. So, let's just take a little of the temperature in the room. I'm not happy with the Fever front office in their fan communications. I have tickets I paid for months ago to go to next Tuesday's game. I have airline tickets, I have hotel, restaurant reservations made. So where does this go? Two paths. Either the Fever admit they botched this, come clean, and finally treat Clark like the franchise cornerstone she is. Or more likely, they keep lying, fans keep stacking receipts, and eventually the entire thing detonates. And when it does, Stephanie White won't just regret lying, she'll regret underestimating the power of Clark's fanbase, the reach of the media, and the possibility of an investigation that could shake the WNBA to its core. Because if this deception sticks, the Fever aren't just staring at angry tweets. They're staring at a nightmare scenario. Investigations into deceptive consumer practices. If fans paid for tickets expecting Clark to play when the team knew she wouldn't, that's grounds for lawsuits. We're talking class actions, fines, even sponsors pulling their money until the Fever and the league clean this up. And make no mistake, sponsors won't tolerate this. They invest millions in Clark's star power, not in a team spinning fairy tales about her health. If they smell fraud, they'll walk, and they'll take their money with them. I am devastated that Sophie Cunningham is now out, and I would like to know if Caitlin Clark will be playing. It's not too much to ask. The Fever need to be more transparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I share that a lot of fans are in this exact situation. Come on. If Caitlin Clark is gone for the year, it's time to show a pair and admit it. Admit it. I gotta tell you guys, it's time to go to the Fever social media and began demanding, is Caitlin Clark coming back this year or not? And don't think the league office can hide. Once national media starts hammering this story, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA brass will have no choice but to act. That could mean independent medical reviews, stricter injury reporting, or even a league probe into how the Fever handled Clark's situation. The second you hear league investigation, you know the scandal has gone from bad PR to full-blown crisis management. At the heart of it all is trust. Trust between fans and the Fever. Trust between sponsors and the league. Trust between players and the front office. And right now, every lie about Clark's health erodes that fragile trust. Once it's gone, good luck rebuilding it. The bottom line? Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball, the brightest star the WNBA has ever had, and she deserves honesty, protection, and respect. The lies surrounding her injury aren't just sloppy. They're dangerous. They threaten her career, the Fever's reputation, and the league's future. Fans should demand answers, sponsors should demand accountability, and the media should push harder because Clark deserves better. And fans won't stop until she gets it. So what do you think? Is this just a sloppy cover-up, or are we staring at a full-blown investigation waiting to explode?